intensive treatment.
How's it going, everyone? Intensive Treatment here with their latest podcast episode. It is the 75th episode of Intensive Treatment, the podcast. Can you believe it?
How are we here?
I don't know. It's nuts to me. It felt like yesterday we just recorded the 50th episode.
Felt like yesterday we recorded the first episode. So it's just crazy that we're here and, people are watching and enjoying and we still want to do it.
That's true. Hasn't fallen to the wayside like other podcasts of ours.
Yeah. Well, there's we have he just dropped that bomb.
Oh, sorry. I'm a little sick, so it's a treat. Got a really bad bug going around. Artistic integrity.
Yeah, it's a really bad bug. It's the it's the podcast bug, apparently.
The podcast bug.
But yeah, so we're at 75 today, and we've done milestone episodes before. What was, I believe, 50 was
Arkham City. We talked about Arkham City. Their 25th was Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, and now we're at 75, so we thought it would be fitting to talk about another Arkham game as a milestone episode. And
yes,
today we're talking about one of the, at least in recent memory, one of the most overrated Arkham games. Actually, maybe no, Arkham Knight takes the cake, but this one has gotten a resurgence because of, I don't know why. I guess because it's been 10 years basically, and people are like, "Oh, it was actually pretty good." We're talking about Arkham Origins today. A controversial one within the Arkhamverse for sure.
Yeah, this game.
Yeah, especially on this podcast, because particularly our viewers, we have some people that love it, some people that think it's okay, but I don't think we have anyone that really doesn't like it, except us.
Yeah.
We don't really like Arkham Origins, and we're going to go into why, but yeah, it's interesting that we're talking about it, because the game generally, we tried to... Did we play through it? Or we didn't finish it because we got so bored?
We did. We finished it.
We
played through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a tragedy. But it's weird. Over time, both Marvel and I have sort of grown to not really like this game, and the more we play it, especially on the channel, the more we're like, yeah, this is not really a good game. And I think the cons outweigh the pros big time for Arkham Origins, and we'll go through all of that as the video goes on. But should we start at the beginning of Arkham Origins way back in 2013?
Yeah. We'll talk about a little bit its development, kind of when it got announced, and just kind of its development before its release. So this was announced, I want to say, March of 2013.
Yeah, it was February. Pretty close to release, if we're thinking about it in that way. Usually games are announced a while before, but this was within the year.
I mean, you think about it, right? Arkham City was announced shortly after Asylum had came out, and it had over a year or so to develop and for them to market it. But this one was they announced it earlier within the year. This was before Injustice had come out and whatnot. So there was, some hype surrounding DC games up until that point. And so they announced this game, this side game, this spin-off, this prequel, and it was coming out the same year, in 2013. October 25th, I think I remember the release date for this.
I think you're right. No, you're 100% right. No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask how you felt about this being announced, because this was in Game Informer. as one of their like cover stories for the month, and then shortly after we got those teasers of Batman battling Deathstroke in like a shipping yard.
Right. So I remember, God, I would have been just turning 10. Well, I would have been 9 when this was announced. And I remember having just gotten off the cusp of playing Asylum and City and being totally in love with those games. I
Mhm.
was intrigued, but I wasn't as excited as you might think I was. Mainly because it just something about the look of the game from the initial announcements didn't sit with me. Maybe it was the look of the suit, um, maybe the vibe. I don't know. I just wasn't as excited. And then as time went on throughout 2013, I was like, all right, you know what? This is pretty cool. That Deathstroke video came out, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Um, and I remember that Game Informer. And I was like, all right. I mean, it's happening, so I might as well play it when it comes out. So I begged my mom. I couldn't pre-order it, but I did end up getting it right after release. But I don't know. I That was my initial reaction. I wasn't as excited about it as other people. Maybe I don't know. Something about it didn't sit right with me. What
Hmm.
about you?
I remember being very excited for this. This was, like I said, this was shortly before Injustice had come out, so that like the hype and the marketing was going on for that, and I was paying close attention to like they had those versus matches online where it's just like
Hmm.
uh it would be like Green Arrow versus Superman or something like that. And
Yeah.
of course Arrow lost, and it would all culminate in the battle of Batman and Superman, which
Right.
Batman won, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was 13 at the time, and yeah, I was in the middle of that, and then the Game Informer like hit, and I was just like, "Ooh, Batman game, another Arkham game!" It's like I can't wait for this. Deathstroke's going to be in it. They're going to have it's coming out this year. They're going to have a 3DS spinoff. It was like it was just explosions of excitement all over, and then trailers happened, and there were a few things like as the months went on. I'm like, it's like, this doesn't really look like a prequel. I remember there was a point after it announced in between E3 where it was like, so hold on, like this is a prequel? And it was like, it doesn't really look like a prequel. And
Right.
then E3 happened, and we had the big gameplay showcase. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this game. It's so hype.
Yeah.
Comic-Con happened, and they showed Copperhead, which was like, eh.
Hmm.
And they announced multiplayer shortly after. Like all these things were kind of just coming out of the woodwork super fast.
Yeah, they
And
were.
there were things to get excited about. There were stuff that was not hype, like there were like Kevin Conroy not coming back. I remember a lot of people were super angry about that. And
Hmm.
I was like, well, that's kind of a shame a little bit. And then I didn't pre-order it. I couldn't pre-order it, but I did get this as a Christmas gift. Origins and Blackgate together.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
and I couldn't play Origins because, we only had one Xbox at the time, and we were all kind of sharing it. Mainly it
Hmm.
was me and my brother at that point, but um so he got, I think it was some Call of Duty game, I can't remember. So
It
he
was
was
probably.
just he was hogging the Xbox, and I'm like, well, I guess if I can't play Origins, I guess I can just play Blackgate.
Hmm.
But eventually I did get around, and I don't know, like, we'll get into our feelings on this game in a little bit, but yeah, I just remember that whole year just being like, "Batman, Batman, Batman, can't wait, Batman, Batman." And, and it was really good to finally get around to seeing it
Yeah.
release, so it's definitely an interesting time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And at that point too, everybody was kind of, I think, especially when Origins actually was released, everyone was sort of in the boat of like, well, this is okay, but what's Rocksteady doing? And even when Origins came out, the focus was still on Rocksteady.
Right.
So their game was kind of it was there, but it wasn't there at the same time.
It was a placeholder.
Yeah.
Because
And
we all knew that Rocksteady had something big coming up here, like, in the future,
yeah.
and even back then, I remember seeing this, and I'm like, "It does feel like a holdover till, like, the next Rocksteady game comes out," but
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I don't know. It was a time of weirdness for me. It was a really weird year in my life, and that game, I definitely look forward to it more as the game inched closer to release. But
Mhm.
there always felt like something was like, I just want Rocksteady. I
Right.
just, yeah,
Yeah, it was a weird period for DC in particular because, we had all these video games going on, like, I think within that year specifically, we had 3 of them. We had Injustice, we had Scribblenauts, we had Arkham Origins, so, like, it
yeah,
was all just a kind of big flux of games coming out. We had a new cinematic universe on the
right.
cusp with Man of Steel and
Praised that that happened that year. I forgot that that was even. I just,
yeah,
yeah, it's
I
weird.
know it just blanked out of my mind too, but,
Thank God.
yeah. But, I remember just, like, this being a very Batman-centric like, even after Man of Steel had come out, Comic-Con happened, and they were like, "Guess what? Guess who's gonna be in the next Superman movie? It's Batman." Okay, so
Yeah,
it's Batman.
yeah.
So,
It was a big year for Batman, especially.
but
He was
yeah,
getting.
but, I remember playing it, and I was just like my feelings on it back then, I was like, "Oh, man, this is so cool." I don't think, it became my favorite at a certain point. I think by that time, like, even after I'd gone through the game, City was still my go-to, Arkham game, but
Yeah.
I did really like Origins when I eventually played it for myself, so,
Hmm.
um, but what did you think the first time just kinda going through the game?
I liked it as well. Um, I and to be honest, looking back, I kind of it was probably recency bias because
Mhm.
now I look at it and I see all the things wrong with it. But at the time, I was 10 and I'm like, oh, Batman in the winter, Batman in a suit that looks sort of like the Dark Knight, like angry Batman, um, like a bigger goth. I was just like, oh wow, it's the best thing ever, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I was one of those people who's like, has the boss fights are the best and blah blah blah. I'm like, now I'm just like, yeah, no, but yeah, I enjoyed it back then. I enjoyed it for a good couple years, even.
Mhm.
So probably up until the time, maybe about 2016, I was just like, then I started getting bored with it as a whole, not just playing it, just like, this game's not really, it's fine. And then when intensive treatment started, I'm just like, yeah, I'm done with Origins.
Yeah, that's true. I remember there was a big period of time from, like, 2013 till, like, even 2015 where I was just, like, on, like, nonstop playing Origins, doing so many playthroughs,
Yeah, me too.
doing all the side missions, collecting all the Enigma stuff. I did a playthrough on the Wii U, because I
Mhm.
had it shortly after. It was, like, early I bought it 2013, and I had I played through City on the Wii U in, like, early 2014, so I was just, like, kinda going back and forth. Eventually, I bought Origins on the console as well, digitally,
Mhm.
and, I remember doing a full 100% playthrough, like, doing all the nightmare missions,
Oh
all the
god.
side missions, going through the story on, like, I am the night mode.
Right.
I did it all, and even the challenge maps. I got all the ranks in the challenge maps, and I think after that was where I was just like, "I don't wanna touch this game for a very long time."
Right. Yeah, I had a similar experience where like within that like 2 or 3 years, especially before Arkham Knight came out. And actually, even after Arkham Knight came out, because I didn't get Knight until 2016, which was when I got my Xbox One.
Mhm.
Um, so for like a good 3 years, all I did was play Origins. I mean, I played the other ones too, but I was like, because it's the most recent one, why not? And
Right.
I did so many playthroughs, and there was a certain point where I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of done, like for a long time. I don't want to play this like maybe ever again.
True.
So I hit that plateau, and I was just like, oh, yeah. Um, but what about at that time? I'm trying to think back what the public perception was because I feel like the public perception of that game was sort of how we feel about it now. Um, it was okay. Um, nowhere near as good as the Rocksteady games.
Yeah.
Um, what was your experience like with other people back then who had played it or that you were seeing on the internet?
From what I remember back then, because I was one of the big supporters when this launched, and
Hmm.
everyone else, like the big online, IGN, GameSpot, they were like, it's fine,
Right.
it's just kind of like a whatever type title. And I remember I was just like, man, you're crazy. It's just like this game's really good and all that. And then for years, it would just kind of like stayed that way. And I began to shift. I was just like, well, this game, like, it's not as good as not as good as Asylum, not as good as City. And then Arkham Knight came out and I had my honeymoon phase with that where I'm like, this might be the best Arkham game. And that quickly shifted.
Yeah.
Um and nowadays it's just kind of like it's the opposite effect. There's a lot of people that love this game, think that it's the best in the series, even after games like Arkham City and Asylum, which is just so weird to think about, at
Me
least in
too.
my eyes.
And what gets me too is I've seen a lot of this on Twitter, and you can tell me if you have as well, is that a lot of Batman Twitter users, and Twitter's a cesspool anyway, it doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
um they always say like, well, the storytelling's far superior in Origins. It actually has a story for Batman. And I'm like, did you not play the Rocksteady games? Like,
No.
did you not see the development? Just because they're not blatantly putting in your face Batman's a dickhead and he's like an asshole to Alfred, that's like your in your face storytelling. But I feel like the Rocksteady games were much more graceful than that, than to just throw it in your face like that.
Yeah.
But if you know anything about storytelling and pacing, you would know that those games are great at showing Batman's progression as a character and the overall story. But I think that's crazy. And I think Origins does the worst job at explaining Batman's progression as a character because they only do it in like 4 or 5 different moments throughout the game, and then they never touch it again.
Mm.
I don't know. It's a lot of problems with that, but yeah, I mean, why do you think that shifted? Because a lot of the people who are saying this are people who in 2013 were probably our age or a little bit older
Yeah.
and didn't say this stuff back then.
It's a good question because, well, I feel like a lot of that is because there's a lot of people discovering Arkham nowadays.
Hmm.
So there's some kind of predilection upon playing like the underrated games. So a lot of people gravitate towards that. But those people that were around in 2013, like you and I, like it's like a coin flip, I'd say. Like it's hard to tell when that kind of switch flipped and they were just like Origins is the best game. But
Right.
yeah, I can't take you seriously if you say that. I'm sorry to say, but it just
Yeah, I can't either. and we can get into all our problems with the story soon. But if is there anything else you kind of want to go over in terms of like sort of the beginning story of the development and kind of where everyone was at in 2013?
Um, I remember as far as development goes, I remember there were a lot of people that were concerned about the fact that it was releasing within the same year. Like it had
Yeah,
maybe a few months to advertise itself before launching.
yeah,
So, but as far as what we did get as for marketing, there were some high points and there were some very low points.
mm,
I think the E3 showcase was like the best thing to come out of Origins marketing,
yeah,
like without a doubt. Like seeing that gameplay trailer for the first time and the developers like doing a full 10-minute showcase of the game, showing like the crime systems and whatnot, anarchy as a side mission. Like that was a whole lot of fun.
hmm
Um, yeah, multiplayer I wasn't really interested in. I remember when they announced like the season pass, which was like, I guess that's a thing. And they also had the soundtrack leaked on the internet, so it had a bunch of spoilers in there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it was a very like it was a weird time because it's like you're excited to play this, and then you see it's just like these things happening. There was also a mobile game that came out right before
yeah,
Origins had launched, so
yeah,
it was kind of all over the place as far as marketing goes. But
yeah. I don't know what they were thinking with that.
yeah, I think they should have waited a little bit.
They should have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because having it in that October, well, I think it was too soon,
me
and
too.
it kind of gets into the launch period where every console had something wrong with their versions of the game,
Yeah,
but like the bugs and the rampant glitches and whatnot. PC had it the worst
mm,
when it came to that shit, and I think after that it was just kind of hard to recover. So
yeah, yeah. The game was riddled with a lot of issues from even before it was released. It was just kind of plagued with, I don't know, just bad everything for
mhm,
the most part. Gave it it gave it a struggle to actually be in the public interest of like, oh yeah, I want to get this game and I want to play it. I think the only reason most people did was because it had Arkham on
true.
it. But yeah, so that's all I have to say on that. Um,
Okay, so I guess we'll get into the actual game itself.
sure.
Um, so just getting into, I guess we'll start with the story first.
hmm
Um, it's an interesting idea, but I feel like it is butchered in so
Yeah,
many ways.
it's not executed well, like at all. Um, and I remember that year when they had announced like, okay, well, it's assassins and Batman has to go up against them. I was like, this is a really cool idea.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
and oh wow, I'm gonna get to fight a bunch of villains that I've never seen in the Arkhamverse before. That's awesome. And then you don't really fight any of them in the main story. Um,
Yeah, that was always the weirdest thing to me, like just getting into it now, because a lot of the assassins are just kind of one and done deals.
mm,
And even some of the assassins are not even in the main story. Like
yeah,
Shiva and Deadshot are just relegated to side missions, which is
right.
just so lame.
And they're
Um,
not even good side missions.
no,
I mean, Deadshot is we're basically doing the same thing that we did in City. We're just figuring out who we killed, and then now there's a hostage situation, but that's it.
no,
It's just the Two-Face boss from frickin' the Catwoman DLC.
pretty much, yeah.
So I mean, and we'll get into that more, like the unoriginality of Origins as we go on. But yeah, and Shiva's is, you'd expect, for me at least, I expected Shiva to be a harder, more interesting kind of deal because she trained with Bruce. Not that she knows it's him, but they were trained together, and
Yeah.
um, there could be some history there. Like, you could have had a really cool mission with that. Maybe her figuring it out or something. That would have been cool. But we didn't get that.
No, all we get is basically her just going like Gotham's a cesspool and a failed society. I don't know why you're trying to save it.
Yeah, and then it just ends.
Yeah. I'll meet you again someday. It's like, no, you won't.
And then, like, the only villains who are relegated to actually having time on the assassin list is Bane, Copperhead, um, uh, Bane, Copperhead, Electrocutioner, I believe
Firefly.
Firefly, Croc, and Croc is just dealt with immediately.
I was gonna say I don't really feel that way with Croc and Copperhead because they're basic like they leave as soon as they show up.
Yeah,
Especially in Croc's case, where you find out he's an assassin after the fact,
right.
and which is just why? What's the like? What was the point even of making him an assassin in the first place?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's like Copperhead. She is out of there. Uh, Electrocutioner is just a joke
yeah,
throughout
literally.
the whole game, and then Deathstroke, which was the marketed character. You only fight him once, and then he spends the rest of the time in a jail cell.
And the fight is so quick, and it's so early in the game. I,
Yeah,
I I never used to think about that, but the fight is legitimately within the first 2 hours of the game.
yeah,
And it's like that's it. You get to the final offer. Um, that's just it. The
yeah.
the marketed character is
It's just
just,
gone.
and literally now, especially, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. I beat Deathstroke in 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah,
there's no trouble. He's so easy to defeat.
you can like even on the hardest difficulty,
Oh yeah.
you can
On
beat
I Am
him
the Night,
within
you
like
can beat
5 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So it just feels very undeserved, of when people say it's the best Arkham game, especially. Um, because they didn't even treat the bosses and characters with that much respect. They just kind of let them go.
I guess we can get into that also because a lot of people are saying that Origins has the best boss fights, and I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with it at all either. Um, I think I think one of them is really good. I think Deathstroke is fun. Um,
Yeah, Deathstroke is fun.
but when you get down to it, it's not the best boss fight in the series. It's just Ra's al Ghul again.
Yeah, a
Like,
lot of it is racial goal.
it's just countering. It's just literally it's just spamming Y. That's the entire boss fight. It's spamming Y and you hit X a couple times, and
Mhm.
that's it. You can do some combo moves, which is all of that is in basic combat. Um, so I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
That his is the best boss fight. But what about you? What do you think of the Deathstroke boss overall and how it ranks towards other boss fights? Because now it's, even when the game came out, actually, that boss was sort of hailed as like the holy grail of boss fights in the Arkham.
I remember the opposite. I remember a lot of people hating that boss fight
Really?
just because they didn't get the idea of like the delayed counter. So they
Yeah.
get hit a lot and they'd be like, "What the fuck? What am I supposed to do here?" But I probably like that boss a little bit more than you do. Like I just like the idea of him actually fighting somebody like a combatant that's on his caliber.
Hmm.
Uh and because of most of the boss fights in this entire series, there's like maybe two people at max who can actually put up an actual fight against Batman, which is like
Yeah.
Deathstroke and Ra's al Ghul. And so the idea of like you both trying to counter each other's moves using your own gadgets against each other, like I think that's a neat idea. It ends way too quickly, I will say, but Yeah, I think it's probably like it's still like for me, it's probably top 5, maybe like it's in the top 10 for sure. Maybe even top 5, but
Yeah.
I used to rank it way higher, but then we just played through Origins not too long ago for the channel for the live streams, and that kind of soured me a little bit on the fight. So, um, but as far as the other bosses, though, there are some really bad ones, like just
Yeah.
downright. Like the Copperhead fight is bad, is really bad. I don't like the Firefly fight as much as other people do, because all you're doing is like you're just spamming projectiles most of the time. Just like glue
Yeah.
grenade him, and then you just throw batarangs at him, and that's it.
Yeah.
Bane is like I like the first part, like when you're in the apartment building and you're just beating him, but when he supercharges himself, that's when it gets like its
Annoying.
absolute worst. Yeah, and then at the end you have to fight his Titan self or TN1, whatever you call it. That's horrible.
Yeah. It's abysmal.
It
That's
is.
the word I would use. So bad.
It is. And then you got like other ones in side missions like Black Mask, Anarchy, Bird, which are basically just normal enemy types with
Yeah.
health bars. So yeah, the boss lineup doesn't really hold up at all, I feel.
No, I don't think it holds up at all.
Which is a shame. It is a real shame because this was one of the big things that they were marketing early on. Like, these 8 assassins, you're gonna fight each and every single one of them. They're gonna be really cool and whatnot, and then you just play through it and you're like, "Well, that was disappointing." And you say
Yeah.
that more often than not with this game where you're just like, "Well, that was disappointing." So,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, look, I mean, it is what it is. It's just it becomes annoying when people try to hype them up more than they are.
That's true.
That's the problem. Um, because you and I have been at this kind of stop sign for a while. Um, of like, yeah, they're not that good. Some of them are okay, and then the rest are just like totally bad. And then there's this modern bias of like it's all great, and it's peak as they would say. I'm not on that boat for sure.
Yeah, like that one Twitter user is gonna be like, "Man, remember that epic Copperhead fight?" I'm just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, the epic Copperhead fight that also is a ripoff of another boss.
Yes.
There's nothing original about any of these bosses.
No, not really.
So that's a shame. That's a damn shame.
Yeah. One thing I guess we should talk about right now, because we're gonna bring up this a lot of this game having like it's very being unoriginal, is that a lot of this was built on the backs of Arkham City's code. Like it's just all their assets, all their levels and stuff like they used a ton of them and they had Rocksteady's help too with making this. So
Yeah.
and it's just like I can understand partially because it's just like it was going to be a few years out before Arkham Knight was coming. Like that was the big PlayStation 4 game or one of them, like one of their actual next gen games they were pioneering for. So it's just like I guess W was like we're going to have like a quick, run in like one and done kind of spin off just to hold people over. So I don't mind the fact that they used a lot of those assets and whatnot. My problem is that they didn't use them correctly, and we'll
Right.
get into that as we continue on. Like the boss fights, there's a lot of pieces throughout, like we said, which are just kind of rip-offs of other boss fights we've seen.
Right.
Deathstroke has a sequence that's lifted right from the Ra's al Ghul fight,
Yeah.
with you having to counter him a bunch and then just beat the ever living shit out of him, and you do
Yeah.
that like 3 times?
Yeah, I
So,
think it's yeah. But also I think Copperhead even steals from that too, because you have it's sort of like the Ra's al Ghul fight in the sense that there's a bunch of Copperheads, and in Ra's al Ghul there's a bunch of ninjas, and you do like a multi counter. So it's just, it's like, could you be any more blatant with where you're taking it from?
right.
But yeah, that's all I have to say on the bosses.
Those bastards.
The son of a bitch! How dare you! Sorry, I'm
Um,
like quoting from the worst Robin.
so yeah, as far as the rest of the story goes, there is a sort of development for Bruce throughout because he starts off as a very angry loner type, and then by the end he realizes like, oh, I need friends and allies to help me out. Which you're right. I feel like a lot of that is just kind of it's not really handled that well
No, it's
throughout.
not. And it's a
Like it's
good
very,
idea.
it is, yeah,
It's just they didn't do it right. It feels so firstly it feels so shoved in your face, but they make a point to make Bruce like super unlikable, which I get. Um but I don't know, it just feels like they did it too half-assed for me to care about his development in that game.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know how you
you're right. I feel the same way of it being super like shoved down your throat. Like even after you leave Blackgate the first time, and him and Alfred are just talking, you can just feel that tension, and all the like it's almost like watching the Cape Crusader show all over again, where it's
Yeah.
just like Alfred is like trying to mean well and help out Bruce as much as he can, even though he doesn't really agree with like the idea of him going out every night dressed up as a fucking bat.
Yeah.
But Bruce just, like, lays it on him super hard, and there's, like, maybe one time where Alfred actually, puts his foot down and is like, "No,
Claps
you're
his
gonna
ass.
die, you're gonna get yourself killed," and all this stuff, and, so, like, by the end, I just don't really feel anything anymore when he
Yeah.
actually makes that switch, and he's like, "I'll be a kinder, gentler, some sorta Batman," so
Well, that's the problem is that his switch happens and you think to yourself like, "Well, how did we get here?" Because earlier I didn't really see much character development. All I saw was a couple scenes of him yelling and being an asshole. And like there was no like I guess you could take the scene where Alfred almost dies as that sort of turning point, but like it doesn't feel deserved.
no.
Because the entire game, Bruce is just being a jerk, and then this one thing, it's just like, all right, and I get it, I would switch too, but for people to say that it's like the story makes him super developed and like gives him an arc, it's like he really doesn't
Not
have an
really.
arc. It's like from start to finish, straight line. It's like he's a dick and then he's not, and there was no arc.
No, not really. Because you're right, it just abruptly switches, and, like, it just like, even right before then, he's, basically telling he's like, they're basically fighting with each other as he's trying to take down Firefly, and
Right.
then all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, he almost dies, and that's when Bruce realizes, like, "Maybe I shouldn't be a dick to my friends."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, really, you fucking idiot."
Yeah, like there was no moment throughout it where there was like an actual momentum of character development. It
No.
just happens.
It just yeah.
I'm like, all right. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Frankly, that's where we're at.
Mhm. Yeah, and yeah, the story just as a whole. Well,
Well, let's talk about the villain
oh,
because
okay. I was about to be like, maybe we should move on, and then you're like, yeah, we should talk about
and then
him.
we'll move on because
Yeah.
this was a big subject of controversy.
This
Uh,
was something that I hated even back then, like when
Me
I
too.
saw this for the first time.
Well, let's real quick briefly go over what we knew before the game came out. We knew that Black Mask was going to be the main villain. That
Yeah.
was that was the whole thing. Black Mask. And everyone that I knew and everyone that I had heard was like, this is cool. Like, no one would have thought that Black
I
Mask would
was
be the main
excited.
villain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm like, we see him in Arkham City for a split second. We see him in the Robin DLC, and that's it. Now we get to see him before all of this, and I thought that was awesome. And it would give his appearance in City maybe that much more gravity. We get to the game, and immediately it starts off good with he's there and he's present, and then you just don't see him at all, like ever. He's never seen. Um,
No.
and you don't even really feel like his presence is that high. It's just kind of like Black Mass hired these guys, and that's it.
Well, the
Um,
thing about that too, even is like after learning the big reveal, which was like, oh, it was Joker, and he's the one who hired the assassins. You replay the beginning of the game, and you already know, like, this is Joker. Like, this
yeah,
isn't Black Mask we're watching. The
right,
first time you really even see Black Mask is in the bank when when they
yeah,
pull the sack over like off his head. And
right.
then, yeah, you're right. There is like after that, it's just the full Joker show from beginning to end. And there's like little pieces of Black Mask every now. Well, one scene it like before you fight Copperhead, and then he's just relegated to a side mission, which is just it's so sad because even at that point, everybody was like kind of like, yeah, like these games are fun, but like maybe we could, go without Joker for like the future and stuff. Like we don't
Right.
really need to rely on the Joker again. So the fact that like we had this interesting setup where it's like Black Mask, this villain that the mainstream knew nothing about really. He's getting the main piece of the pie. He put up a bounty for all these assassins to claim, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And it's just it resorted to nothing. Even thinking about the marketing back then, because we knew Joker was going to be in the game. They showed it to us through E3. And then
Yeah.
before release, there was a lot of marketing gravitated towards Joker, and you're just like, it's like that doesn't seem right.
Why?
And then yeah. So what was the point of even putting him in market? Like, even if you wanted to surprise people and whatnot, then you should have just like not shown him off at all.
Well,
But
that's what I was hoping for. Like, that was why when that happened and Joker was announced, I was like, why are they talking about this? Because especially if you're thinking Black Mask is the main villain, which he should have been anyway, but
yes,
let's say the story was different and Black Mask was the main villain, but Joker was just surprisingly being in it. And that would have been cooler than like knowing. Why would I want to know? He was
yeah,
already he was already the main villain in the first two. And even after that, people were starting to feel fatigue. And I think the fact that they lied about Black Mask and it turned into Joker was the real like nail in the coffin for everybody. It was like, yeah, we don't want Joker at all.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, what a whirlwind of BS
It's
from that.
sad that this game basically started the running.
Yeah. Marvel, you cut out, my friend. Oh no, he's dead. I cannot hear you if you are speaking. Yeah. That's what I.
There we go.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
I'll just cut that bit out.
All right. Okay. As I was saying, it's it's bad that this game basically started that running joke of, every villain that gets announced for the next game and whatnot, we always say, like, how long before it turns into the Joker?
Right.
Like, even Suicide Squad, I joked about that. Is like, is Brainiac just Joker? In
Yeah.
Arkham Shadow, I joked about that too, where I was just like, Rat King's fucking Joker. Like, it's gonna happen. Thankfully it didn't, but yeah, it just set this weird precedent. And I think Knight made it even worse with
Night
that
made it
shit.
really, really bad
So
because that was the one game they were like, Joker's not in it. Um, he's dead. We're done with that. And they even start the game with making you believe that that's it.
yeah, you cremate his body, and yeah, he's there the whole time.
Yeah,
But yeah,
literally.
this game had it pretty bad though. It's just like, because the plot just shifts. Like, it's basically Arkham City again, where it's just like, we're trying to figure out what Protocol 10 is and what the deal with that is. And then we're infected with Joker's blood, and we have to spend like the next 3 hours or so trying to cure ourselves, basically.
Right.
So that sucks.
Yeah, and the moral of the story is we've had too much Joker at this point, and we just need to not, for a little while, go back to that. There's
Yeah.
so many great villains that could be used that were missed out on because Rocksteady and WB Montreal could not let. Well, I think the Joker was probably more so WB's doing than it was WB Montreal. Um, but so much missed potential because of the overuse of Joker.
Yeah. Yeah, that one surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure, but then again, WB Montreal does not have a good track record with video games.
True.
So I wouldn't be surprised either way. But yeah,
Yeah.
should we move on to other things within the Arkham Origins sphere?
Um, should we go over the acting real quick before we get
Yeah,
into gameplay?
yeah, sure. I love
Um,
I love the main voice cast.
I do too.
Roger
It's one
Craig
of the
Smith.
few bright spots that this game actually has, is that it has a really, like, great voice cast.
Yeah. Roger Craig Smith like knocks out of the park as a young Batman.
I love Roger Craig Smith's Batman so much, and I'm so glad that he got the chance to come back for more projects, not just within the Arkham universe, but also just in other, like, DC, uh,
Animated
other
stuff he's done.
animated stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. It's great that we got him back in the Arkhamverse though. Uh, uh Literally last week with Arkham Shadow. Um or was it this week?
I want to say last week.
Yeah. So that's always a great thing. Um but he was a pleasant surprise for me because at that point, my Batmans were obviously the live action ones, which were, cut and dry with whatever their voice was doing. It was usually just some deeper version of their voice. Um, but the definitive ones were obviously Kevin Conroy and Reno Romano for me.
Hmm.
Um, so I was pleasantly surprised that I had a new favorite Batman on my list, in the top five at least for me. Roger Craig Smith is just phenomenal as Batman. Um,
Yes.
and even if he just did Arkham Origins, I think he would have a spot in the top spots. Maybe not the best, definitely not the best for me, but he's one of the best for sure. Um, so he secured a spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Troy Baker's Joker is great too. I really enjoy him as Joker.
I
Um,
like I don't love his Joker. And I feel like it's kind of gotten worse as the years have gone on,
really,
because I feel like he's trying just too hard to sound. Like, I get it, it's a prequel, but is like, because Roger didn't, like, he wasn't trying to do Kevin's voice but younger. Like, he just kinda did his own thing. I wish Troy had kinda did the same thing where it was, like, more his own, but it just to me, it feels like Troy is, like, the diet Mark Hamill. But I
See,
don't blame him, though.
see, I don't actually think he sounds anything like Mark Hamill, and maybe that's just because I'm like brain dead, but I don't get that vibe from him. Um, I don't hear it. Maybe that's just me. It probably is just me. But that's why I like him.
It's
Is
gotten
because
better as, like, he's done more stuff, but I feel like this because I don't think he had played Joker before
no,
this in
yeah,
any project, so I feel
no,
like it's the most noticeable here, but,
yeah.
yeah, every time I listen to him as Joker, though, it just something about it doesn't, like, sit right with me. Not that
I
he's doing
do
a
agree
bad
with that.
job, it's
I do
just
agree with that.
yeah. Not that he's
Yeah,
doing a bad job, it's just, like, it's just it doesn't, like, that I want it to, in
yeah,
my mind anyway. But it's not a bad performance in this game. It's actually a
yeah,
pretty good performance,
yeah, it
all
is.
things considered.
Um, the guy who plays Commissioner Gordon is really good. Um,
Yeah,
I actually love him for an early Jim Gordon. He's great.
and
Um,
Alfred, the guy who's been voicing Alfred
oh yeah,
in Lake City, he really knocked it out of the park here, and it's probably the best, like, one of the best versions of Alfred we've gotten.
well, up until that point, I think he had the most material to work with,
True.
especially with the back and forth with Bruce, and also the fact that there's no Oracle this time around, so it was just all Alfred.
Yeah.
Back, so I'm he definitely had the biggest role in this for sure out of the arc.
Mhm.
I can't believe too. He's 84 years old. So he started playing Alfred when he was like what 2011. Like, he was like in his late 60s. He would have been when he started playing Alfred. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Got a late start, and now he's GOAT status.
that's true. Taking the Michael Golf route from '89 and returns Schumacher and all them, so
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
yeah,
As far as some of the other cast, like, members, though, like, I love Bane in this game. Firefly's okay. Shiva's fine. Like, there's a point where it's like, there's some really good performances, and then everything else is just kind of like, "Eh," like, it's okay. It's fine.
yeah,
Like, even Deathstroke is just, like is just kinda whatever as far as lines
yeah,
and whatnot.
yeah. A lot of them don't really have that much personality.
No.
Like Deathstroke's very like, yeah, I hate you, and you hate me, and I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, okay. I'm trying to think of another assassin that I'm like, okay. Oh well, Bane. Bane's voice actor's great.
Yes.
He's really, really good. I don't know who that is off the top of my head, but he did a great job.
His name's, like, Matt Blanc or something like that.
Okay.
Uh, it's like BLAC or something like that. I forget, but, um, yeah, he's a pretty good voice actor. He's done a lot of, like, projects. He was Bane in the Telltale games. He was Alfred in Beware the Batman and, some other characters in that show, but
Was he?
he was, yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Mm,
I I didn't recognize him as Bane in freaking Telltale. I didn't know that was him.
mm.
I guess I'm just
Yeah, no, once you hear it, it's kinda hard to, like, unhear it, like,
yeah.
after, but, yeah, he is Bane in those games, too, or one of them, but,
Yeah.
is there anything else for voice actors? I think I said my piece, so
Yeah, I think I said mine too. Those are the main
alright.
ones I wanted to go over.
Gameplay!
Phew. There's honestly not a lot to talk about here.
No,
It's just Arkham City, but worse.
yeah. For all the people who are like It's not that, it's fine, it's better. It's like it doesn't feel better.
Name
Not
me
at all.
one thing in the comments, guys, that is better in Arkham Origins than City.
Yeah,
Like, it feels clunkier. So I don't know how it feels clunkier because they just copy and pasted it, but it just
literally.
feels so much worse. It feels cheaper. The game looks cheaper. Um, it doesn't run well. Um, like at all. Even now. Um, like combat's the same apart from like a couple minor changes, which make virtually no difference at all in the combat.
Yeah. Like
Um,
Batman's in a stance now
yeah,
that he wasn't
wow.
before. Yeah, wow. Like, so
And like I don't know, some of the decisions too make combat actually worse. Like when you do the aerial attack, um, and you
oh
do a
god.
directed one, you stay on the ground and do like a ground pound, but you can't counter. So you just get kicked all the time, or punched, and you can't do anything about it. And because Batman's so damn slow in this game, it makes it even worse. Um, but yeah, and to think about some of the gameplay elements that they were gonna do is like, remember the one we talked about before of like, if you throw a batarang, you like
You might
trip it.
miss.
Yeah, or
You
like you
might
trip.
miss, or like if you're running through Gotham, you might trip. So
Why would you implement that? That's just so stupid.
it is. I mean,
Um,
I like I said in the video, I get that this is a younger Batman, and you want to take advantage of that, but like it's just gonna make him look like an idiot more than anything.
yeah, like
And this is
tripping.
like
Like,
year 2 Batman also.
yeah, and people are acting like Batman didn't have intensive training before he became Batman.
True.
This isn't like we don't know what Pattinson's Batman did before he became Batman, how he trained, but this is not a grounded Batman. This is Arkhamverse Batman. This is fantasy. Like he knows his shit before he gets on the field.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there would be no excuse for him to trip. I could see them missing a Batarang part. That would make more sense, but the tripping part just I was like, what the hell? When you told me that, I was like, how the hell do they think that's a good idea?
Maybe in a cutscene, I could see him like throwing a batarang and him missing. But if that is an actual gameplay element, then
Yeah, that would have been terrible.
that'd be frustrating,
Oh yeah, that'd be terrible.
especially in stealth sections. Imagine you're like trying to hit like a fire extinguisher, like to for a distraction, and then it just misses completely. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, what was the fuck? Like, just explode the fire extinguisher, please. Like,
Yeah.
damn.
But overall, there was legitimately zero improvements on gameplay.
No, it just
They
like you
actually,
said, it feels worse
yeah,
to play. Like I feel like every attack I do is just delayed beyond
yeah,
measure.
oh yeah. And because the game's broken, combat is just annoying to be a part of now. People will
Yeah.
hit you randomly. Like even if you counter, um, like comparing it to Arkham City, it's like City is so smooth and there's no delay at all.
No.
Um, it just feels right. And for me, it's the best feeling combat in the entire series.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel the same.
so I don't know what happened. I don't know how they did this, but how dare you?
Yeah, it's like Batman feels slower, he moves slower, his inputs are much slower, and also the enemies are, like, super aggressive with
Yeah,
you. Like, they're, like, punching you with and like, the speed of light, it feels like. And
yeah.
there are gonna be points, and we probably had this on stream too, where you're just gonna get ambushed by, like, 7 guys, that you're
Whoa,
trying to
pause.
count.
But yeah,
Um, Portraits Wars. No, I'm kidding. Um, but yeah, you're gonna be, like, trying to counter all these people, and then you're just gonna get, like, blindsided by, like, 2 or 3 of them behind you, and, you might die. It might come to the case where you actually just die from a random thug on the street.
yeah.
So, it's not very intuitive at all.
No, not at all.
stealth is not great either.
No, there's only one thing that I like, and that is the quick silent takedown upgrade.
Yes.
That is super helpful. But apart from that, nothing has changed. Nothing got better. It feels slower and more drawn out than City does.
Also, it feels like with most of the rooms, like you're just using the uh the remote claw the whole time.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they want you to use that for everything.
Yeah.
Hanging somebody from a gargoyle or like attaching them to like an explosive canister or something. Like it's just like there's no variety here.
No.
Really nothing to like um it's like no wonder when those people upload those videos of like what a prepared Batman would look like and they're just playing like the other games. Nobody is playing Origins.
No.
So, because they know it's shit.
'Cause it's ass.
Ass.
No, it's not ass and titties. It's just ass.
Just ass.
Swamp ass. That's what it is.
Everybody go watch my AVGN video if you haven't already.
Please, guys, go give it a
Yeah.
watch.
Um yeah, I've almost forgot because you mentioned the quick silent takedown, but one of the only improvements I found with combat is the upgrade where you can do multiple takedowns at once. Like it's like those little star things, and it's just like, oh, you can use
Oh
one of
yeah.
them for like a multi takedown, one of them for like an instant takedown, or like to dismantle weapons and stuff. That's pretty cool. But everything else though is not good with combat or stealth. So
No, not at all.
I guess
It's a
talking
shame.
about I guess talking about traversal too, that feels worse.
Oh, it feels so much worse. I don't even know how.
Yeah, I don't know. It's literally all the same animations too,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just like I can't dive bomb without it just feeling clunky
Yeah.
or like I'm gliding through the air and I feel like I'm just slowing down the whole time. Like it doesn't feel fast. It doesn't feel uh, intuitive at all.
Yeah.
So also they break continuity with the grapnel accelerator, but that's one of those cases where it's just like it's a huge map and you're gonna need it anyway. So,
Yeah.
but
That's true.
at least we have fast travel, and that sucks too.
Yeah, it takes forever. It's not really that fast.
No,
So overall, I would say gameplay was an L on basically all fronts.
yes,
What
yeah.
should we talk about next?
Should we talk about like the um? I guess we can talk about like just kind of everything else: enemies, side missions, the open world,
Cosmetics.
cosmetics. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Um,
I fucking hate the enemy types in this game. All
yeah.
of them. The
Yeah.
martial artists are the absolute worst.
Oh yeah, they're terrible.
And also those big brutish guys are
They're
a pain in the ass. They
horrible.
feel like it feels like it takes forever just to, like, knock them down. Like, it's
Another thing,
horrible.
Batman feels super weak in this game.
He does, yeah.
Um, when supposedly he's at his most angriest and strongest ever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Dude
just
can't even break, like, a boarded up wall.
I know.
He needs explosive gel. That's terrible.
That is horrible, man. What an embarrassment. As Bully McGuire said, you were an embarrassment to him.
Yeah. Look at little Batman Jr.
Gonna
Gonna
cry.
cry?
Gonna use explosive gel?
Um, the open world, as much as I like the idea of, like, seeing Arkham City before it turned into Arkham City, it's way too massive, and it's just like your gliding, your traversal sucks. So it's just like It's bad, especially early on in the game where you have to cross the fucking bridge the
Oh
whole
yeah,
time. It's not very intuitive at all.
yeah.
Uh, hmm.
Well, we couldn't talk about cosmetics
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
because enemy
One of the
types, they're just all of them are terrible. There's
yeah,
no, there's I don't really think there's a good one in there for
yeah,
me.
enemy types are bad, the open world's bad, side missions are not great at all.
No, they're not. They're
I
they're
can't even think of I can't even think of one that, like, stands out, but, like, no.
me neither. The only one that stands out to me that I enjoy is the Cyrus Pinkney one, and it's not even a main side quest.
No, you have to discover it, like, separately from the others.
Yeah.
Same as the fucking anarchy tags, which
Mhm.
those are
Oh yeah,
garbage.
those are so annoying too.
Yeah. Cosmetics. This was one of the few bright spots that this game had.
Mm.
Sort of. There's some of them which are like some of them are really good, and then some others are
Oh,
like,
they're really horrible.
yeah. What would you say your favorite is right now?
My favorite suit.
Yes.
Um, Honestly, it's between the Green Lantern suits. Not the the Lantern suits, the
Yeah.
Brightest Day or the Blackest Night. They're both great suits. Um, uh, what was the other one I was going to say? Oh, Night of the
Night of
Round.
the Round Table.
Such a great suit. Love it. And I like that's the one thing about this game that I enjoyed was that it leaned more into that side of Batman, which is my favorite side of Batman than any of the other Arkham games did. Um, so you get an all around sense of Batman in the comics rather than just the one side of him.
Yeah, they were trying to be very obscure with where their like skins came from, and I think for the most part it worked. Like it was a really good idea, just for us to have something that we didn't have prior. But
Right.
I really like the lantern skins. I also got to give props to the long Halloween costume as well.
Oh yeah, it's yeah, great suit.
I love that outfit. Um, Thrill Killer is awful, and
Okay,
Earth 2, yeah,
it's
is
fine.
fine. It's
Oh,
fine.
can we talk about Thomas Wayne? It's horrible.
I don't. This Thomas Wayne is not that great.
It's like when you compare it to Arkham Knight is like up there with the best suits of the entire series. And then
Same
this
with
one,
the same with the new 52 as well. Like comparing it
oh,
to Knight, I think the
it's
Knight version is
horrible.
much better. It's not
Yeah,
my favorite in that game either, but like, damn, they fucked it up super hard in Origins.
it actually looks disgusting in Origins. It's horrible. Like, what is his face doing?
And then they have a bonus version where it's like,
Even worse.
yeah,
Oh my
just this
god.
metallic silver sheen over it, and it's just like, yeah, it is gross looking.
Yeah. Um, Gotham by Gaslight, the idea was cool, but I don't think the execution was as good as it could have been.
Yeah, to me personally, I like it more than most people do, but yeah, you're right. It's not as good as it could have been. We also got stuff like Nightfall and Adam West, which were really nice to see.
Yeah, and I think Nightfall especially, what a great skin.
Nightfall looks fucking awesome. I love Nightfall.
Unfortunately, I never used it because I didn't have a PlayStation, but
No. Well, you could always buy a PC and just kind of mod it in.
that's true. The another one that um was so glitched out it just was all over the place was the 1 million suit,
That's true, yeah.
which I love the look of that suit.
Yeah, you
Uh,
needed a WBID account and everybody's account and like just did not work at all. Like it didn't work for anybody. I luckily was able to get mine to work
oh, you son
somehow.
of a bitch.
So I have it for every console except for the Wii U because they didn't do that shit. But
No. It's
yeah,
arguably the coolest suit in the game.
It
Don't you
is, yeah, it is, it's one of the top suits for sure, I'd say. It's right up there.
Yeah, yeah. Are we missing any? Oh, I'm not gonna count the Dark Knight one because it's just the origin suit in black.
Oh, that
Um,
one is so disappointing.
yeah, what a freaking shit show that was.
I
And for
think
the amount of shit you have to do to get that.
oh, can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So the Dark Knight system, I remember when they advertised this, it was, it's just like these optional challenges you could do throughout the game. But upon release, these were some of the most bugged things in the entire game.
Yeah. And they're
So
still
bugged. Yeah. Like even now, they don't work that well. And yeah, and your reward at the end is a cosmetic which in the open like it's literally just a repaint of the default suit, which keeps all the damage. I never understood that.
yeah, that's so stupid.
Even though I hate it like in the story mode or like the idea of getting it in story mode. That suit, the all black with the gold belt, actually looks pretty cool in the challenge maps.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I agree. For
speaking
me,
of
it's
challenge,
no good.
sorry, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for me, that suit is what the default suit should have been anyway. Um, if that was the design that they were going for, it should have just been black with a gold belt.
Or at least like the blacker parts of the default suit should have been more black.
Yeah, I agree. But on to challenge maps, I guess. It's a good if that's where you were going.
Yeah, these suck.
Yeah.
there's
That's just
no there's
end
no
up like
satisfaction in like rank getting all stars ranking. Like it's not fun at all. I did it for an entire summer and I hate myself, so yeah,
that.
just don't do it.
Yeah, it's not worth it. You do get the Injustice suit, which we forgot to mention, which is a good suit. Um,
Yeah,
I enjoy it a lot in this game. I think it looks better in this than it does in Injustice.
I do too. Yeah.
Um, but is it worth it? Maybe
No,
it
it's not.
depends, but
No. Not
the
anymore at
challenge,
least.
yeah, not anymore. The challenge maps are just terrible.
If the PC version wasn't a thing and you couldn't mod those back into the game, then I mean, it would be worth it, but since that is a possibility now, then no.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so guys, just don't do it.
Yeah, no.
Don't
If
waste
you're
your
gonna
time.
play the odd challenge map for like, just to play it for the sake of doing it, then I mean, sure, it's still there. But like going out of your way to complete all of them is just not worth it.
No.
Um, so we already talked about this in another video, but we can quickly go over multiplayer.
Oh, right.
Um,
So this was a it was an interesting idea that was not executed great, but it wasn't terrible. Um, the only reason I say that is because if you played with friends, it was obviously a lot funner.
mhm.
Um, but if you're playing alone and in lobbies, I mean, the lobbies were bugged as shit. Um, and also the way it worked was terrible. The whole randomizer for Batman and Robin, um, and it was just it just wasn't good the way that they did it.
Yeah, like you can't pick like what faction you want to go in for like the next round or whatnot. So
Yeah.
so every match was just something different. Like you're either a Bane thug, a Joker thug, or just Robin for
Yeah, like
whatever reason.
they could have learned from like Call of Duty really well of like pick pick what you want. And then the game mode will be dictated based off of or like not the game mode, but the lobby will be based off and dictated off of what your choices are.
Yeah.
So if you choose one side, then it's going to put you with a bunch of other people who are on that side. And I also think I think we talked about this before. Like, you should be able to pick if you want to be Batman or Robin, but there has to be like in the lobby, you if you die as Batman or Robin, then it switches off to the next person that was going to be Batman or Robin, and you have to spectate them, and it keeps going through it like that
Yeah.
until it's back to you. That would have been more fun for everybody. But when does WB listen to us?
No, they never do.
What do you think of multiplayer?
For as little as I played of it, I feel in the same boat where it's like it's not bad, but it could have been better. It was an interesting idea at the time, especially because everything was getting multiplayer-fied. So it's just like there's every game had to have an online component in a way. Um, and as far as Batman goes, like this is pretty interesting approach. Um, but yeah, I think it just could have been handled way better. Um, Being able to pick if you wanted to be Batman or like a thug for a certain round or whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, they do have all like the cosmetics from like the last game, which is kind of cool. So you can
Yeah, you
play in
can get
like
up in City Batman.
Arkham City Batman, animated Batman Beyond, that all type of stuff, and
They should have had the Asylum suits though.
yeah, fucking missed opportunity left and right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I won't knock the attempt fully. It
No.
was interesting for the time.
It was.
Um,
I mean, they tried to do something original and it just didn't
it
completely
just
feel right.
no. So we kind of talked about cosmetics earlier, but we should talk about some of the other DLC offerings.
Yeah.
Like the initiation maps, which are I did a campaign of them a few times and they're fucking hard, but it's also like it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like
Like
the idea that they went for.
yeah.
Campaigns are hard though.
In all honesty though, I would have rather just be like its own mode,
I know.
separate from the challenge maps.
I wish that they weren't challenge maps.
Like it's like you could still play through the campaign or whatnot, like have it as its own campaign, and then you go into a separate menu for like the initiation stuff. But it's like the whole thing is just a gauntlet of maps, and it's like some of the hardest ones in the entire game.
Right.
Um, and it like every cutscene afterwards is all based on how well you do. So it's like if you do 1 star, then the master just basically shit talks you the whole time, and so. But yeah, I would have rather just have it be like its own campaign to go through, like its own, like kind of like with Cold Heart, where it's just like a story mode as opposed to a challenge map type deal.
Yeah, because I feel like even the initiation had more of a way to be interesting over Cold Heart because you're actually experiencing Batman's origin, his literal origin,
Yeah,
as training to be a vigilante. So that would have been really cool.
yeah. We get another story mission here with Cold Heart. That's what we get.
Yep.
So I remember when this was announced, with the rest of the season pass content, or no, when the season pass was announced, this wasn't like it didn't have a name yet. So we were kind of wondering, it's like, who are we gonna fight for this? And then I remember feeling disappointed at first because it was like, oh, we're fighting Mr. Freeze again. Like we could have went in a different direction with another villain, but they didn't do that. So, but for the story itself, I mean, it's basically just Heart of Ice again, but it's done well.
Done well, and it's nice to actually see the origin of him. Um, you know, in the Arkhamverse.
Yeah,
So I'd say it was overall good. I mean, I enjoy playing it. It's not like it's boring or anything. It's just
no,
not that not that crazy of a thing to a story. It's not that crazy of a story. We know what's going to happen.
True. Yeah, from what I remember, it's like it starts off really good. The story throughout is good, especially towards the end. There's a lot of parts in between though, which are kind of just boring.
Yeah.
Like after you leave the mansion, and then also when you're trying to collect the pieces for some device that Penguin's just stuck in that wall of ice. I forget what it was called, but you're grabbing the pieces to that, and that was just kind of dull. But overall, like I like the narrative that's there, and I will always enjoy the inclusion of the XE suit. I think
Oh
that shit's
yes.
cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome suit.
I just like that he's basically just an oven. Like he's got like the heated pieces on the outside. That's what I
Yeah.
always think of. It's just like an oven. Like he's got heated batarangs and stuff. It's all cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
I wish though that we could have used that suit in other modes.
I know, like what at least challenge mode would have been
Yeah,
cool. Like
yeah.
why wouldn't it be in there? Well, I don't know if you can mod it into the main game with the heat um stuff either.
Um, I'm not entirely sure, honestly.
Well,
We'll have to look
after this
on
episode,
Nexus and find out.
oh yeah, that's right, Nexus. But yeah, so Cold Heart overall, I enjoy playing it. I'm never bored playing it. It's fun.
No, it's probably the best like story part of Origins thus far.
Oh yeah,
Um, so
it's got a better story than the main game.
true.
Thanks, Thank you, Paul Dini. Welcome back. But what else? The death. Did we talk about the Deathstroke one?
Deathstroke. Oh yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's his suits. Actually, the suits are cool. We
Yes.
have the regular Deathstroke suit, which is a top Deathstroke suit. We have the Injustice one, which is great as well, and then we have the Judas Contract Deathstroke suit, which is my favorite one. Um, Another case, and Marvel and I have said this before, is the Injustice suit looks better in this than it does in Injustice.
Yeah.
It's really good. I think it fits this game well.
I think it's just because they're more beefed up here than they are in their respective game. And
Yeah,
in
that's
Batman's case, he's basically like just like a twink compared to the
the
Arkham
brick shit.
version. Yeah, the brick shithouse Arkham version. So
Yeah. He's not as ripped as Commissioner Gordon, though. We can't forget.
no, Commissioner Gordon is still on them steroids. And
Commissioner Shithouse, baby. But yeah,
but
so I mean,
yeah,
Deathstroke came with a couple challenge maps, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, he had probably one of the best challenge maps in that whole game. Now that I think about it,
What were his? I don't
his
remember.
was I forget what his stealth map was called, but it was basically the room outside of Penguin's office, like where you have to save that Falcone guard.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, that was a Deathstroke map.
that was yeah,
Okay. Well,
and then
that's a good.
the one he's most known for is 100 to 1, which is the room where you fight him, but
Oh,
you
right.
basically have to take out 100 thugs.
That's
Um,
probably the best challenge map in the game.
yes, I would say so. Um, myself, so
But I think that's for the most part it on his stuff.
mhm. Also, we didn't talk about it with the initiation, but we also have a Bruce Wayne to play as. Um, it's like Ninja Bruce Wayne. He's fun.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I like it.
I like his vigilante suit a lot. The one where he has the mask on and stuff and the hood. That
Oh
one's
yeah, it's
cool.
good. It's very good.
Yeah,
It always reminded me of Batman Begins, so I loved using it.
a little bit. Yeah. Um, I think that is it as far as Origins as a whole, as far as
Yeah,
like the
me too.
content and stuff.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so.
so I guess we'll get into final thoughts.
Sure. Um, Man, I don't want to play this again. and I know I will at some point, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry to play
Yeah,
this. Well, like,
no,
for personal reasons, maybe for content, it's just like, sure. But as
yeah,
far as sitting down by myself and actually going through this, like, I don't see that happening for a very, very long time. Um, Everything about this just feels worse. The story is not that great, as much as people hype it up to be. Um, the extra stuff to do is just kind of a waste. And at the end of the day, it's just like I would play this game like it's not like the most horrible game ever. I'd play this
no.
over something like Gotham Knights or like the Telltale games, but
Mm,
like nowadays when I think of just like the Arkham games themselves, I would play Knight over this any day.
yeah, so would I.
It's not even a contest. I'd
And
probably
Night
play
is
Blackgate
really
over
nice.
this
Yeah,
somehow.
I would too. Play any of them over this one.
True.
I can't wait to see alter the comments. This is like the second best one.
Mhm.
It's great. The costume's great, bro. If people think I don't know how people think this costume's great. It's just it looks like a black and white movie, like without the pizzazz of film. It's like digital black and white. It's ugly as hell.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we're both in the same boat with our final thoughts. Yeah, not the worst game ever, but it's like I don't really want to play it.
No, it's kinda disappointing, especially after all these years later, and, it's tough being the odd ones in the crowd when everybody else is like, "I love this thing," and you're like, "I hate this thing." Like, I
Yeah, it's
don't
like
really care for this thing.
no,
So,
not at all.
but yeah, fuck this game.
Screw it.
But I think
That's
that's gonna be it for this episode of Intensive Treatment.
episode 75. Can't believe it. We're almost at
Yeah,
80.
almost. We're almost at 100.
Yeah, it's true. Guys, we're kicking it back
I wonder what we're
with
gonna
the
talk about for
milestones.
the next milestone. Like,
I don't know either.
should we do Blackgate? Should we do Night? Like, just to get it out of the way?
Yeah, because 100's a big one. I don't know. I guess we'll decide within the next 25 episodes.
I guess, yeah.
We got some time.
But yeah, regardless, folks, let us know in the comments what you think of Arkham Origins. Do you love this game? Do you hate this game? Are you indifferent towards it? Let us know. And also be sure to check out our other podcast episodes, like our Halloween video and our PlayStation video, which came out very recently. Or at least I hope the Halloween video is out by the we'll see. Anyway, also check out our ITTVs, our live streams, and all that stuff. And we will see you guys for the next episode, whenever that may be. But
Yep.
have a great night. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And of course, stay locked up, like always.